Hello and welcome back to session.
Everybody, thanks for coming back and joining us in our latest chapter escapades, whatever you want to call it.
How are you? How's your week
I'm
been?
good. I'm good. I come with the mindset that Vaporu solves everything. I told my friend I'm in my Senora era because I really do think that Vaporu is a solution to a lot of things. I had a massive headache yesterday and I rubbed it all over my face, my ear, my neck, and my headache went away. So Vaporu works.
It does. Es el remedio para todo.
Yeah, I really do think it is. Oh my gosh, I wonder if I have it. I even carry a little stick. Have you seen those?
Oh no, I
Let me see
haven't.
if I can find it. Don't mind me.
Does it work the same as the regular
You literally put it up your nose.
Oh, the inhaler one. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I have one of
yeah,
those.
I love this. Well, it's an inhaler, and it's amazing. I can't find it, but because like I carry so many things in my bag, I can't find it. Anyways, how are you? How was your weekend?
Good. It was I'm loving the weather.
I'm
Nice.
hating the weather.
Really?
I freaking hate hot weather.
I love the heat. I love the sun. I love um just the heat, like wearing dresses. So I know last week I said natural hair and whatever. Here I am. Um, I was telling Melissa because I'm afraid, like with hair products, like I'm not trying to get like back acne. I don't. I remember in high school, like that was the thing, like um, with all the gel and hair products, and if it was really hot and like you're sweating and like your hair, like
It
I,
transfers. Even your
yes,
face too sometimes.
yeah. So I don't want that. So that's why I was like, I'm just gonna go back to what I know.
That's okay. That's
I might go
okay.
back. I just need to like, you know,
The
it's gonna be a
process.
process.
It's a process. You know what I was thinking about jobs. So I was like, I'm gonna ask Yvette like what her jobs were, like first jobs and like your journey,
Oh,
like
okay.
as teenagers and all of
Yeah,
that, like when your first job was. So I remember my first interview was at Circuit City. Do you remember that
I
store?
do remember that
So I had an
store.
interview at Circuit City and I got it, but then I think I never called them back.
How old were you?
I was 17. I was a
Okay.
senior. I think it was around like October because I was like, they're gonna need people for
Yeah.
Black Friday. So I applied there and they called me. And then I don't know how long after they closed. Like remember they went out
Yeah,
of
they
business?
uh-huh.
Yeah, so that was like my first interview for a job.
And then
Well,
after where did you
and
work
then I
after?
went to Nike.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I stayed there for so long. My
You
first
were there.
day was Black Friday
Oh my
at the
gosh.
registers. But the person that I was
Fun.
working with, he was like, "It's okay, you can just bag, girl."
Oh,
Like
that's
it's
good.
crazy. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
I feel like especially Black Friday back in the day, like was so different than what it is now. Like now I don't know because I don't do Black Friday shopping,
I
but
don't either.
I feel like it's not as busy or as crowded as it used to be. Like, do you remember people used to like literally camp out
Literally.
of stores,
That's
like
how it
especially
was.
the outlets? Like, I remember when I was younger, I would go with my sisters, like, nos desvelábamos, like to be like the first ones at like certain stores. And I don't know if it's like that because I feel like nowadays you could get everything online for their Black Friday sale or like the Cyber Monday after Black Friday.
Or sometimes the sale is not even just for Black Friday. It's like throughout the whole weekend. But yeah, that's
Yeah.
how it was. Like they would be like, you need to have people drop you off because it's gonna be insane. There's gonna be
Yeah.
no parking, and there really wasn't. And there was a line. And I remember like if you had glasses and you walked in there, it would fog up.
Oh,
That's
because
how
of how
disgusting it was in there. It was
really?
so freaking hot. Where the sales, I mean, because I worked there, I already got those discounts anyways.
Yeah.
So I was like, this discount's like whatever, right? But like obviously, if you buy like a couple $100 shoes and you get
Mhm.
30% off or whatever the sale was, it
Yeah.
was pretty good. So that was like literally my first day. Um, yeah, Black. I don't remember what time I went in, but it was like 12-hour shifts too.
Damn.
Yeah, it was crazy. What about you? What was your first job?
My first job was I can't remember if it was the fair. No, it was I used to work at a car wash. I was the cashier at a car wash. Um, yeah, I think that was my first job. We had gone. It was I remember I got the job on the spot. It was a Mother's Day. And we went, my sisters and my mom and I, we went to with my mom a que lave su carro, and my older sister just happened to ask the manager. They're like, "Oh, are you guys hiring?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, we are. We're actually looking for a cashier." And then she's like, "Oh, my sister. Like, maybe you can hire my sister." Like literally, and I was like, "What the hell? Who said I wanted a job?" um, but no, I needed a job because
She's like, it's time to pull your weight around here.
yeah, no, I think I was 16, but my sister started working a lot younger than me. So I think, in a way, I'm like, okay, thank you for kind of pushing me into getting a job because, or else I think I would have stayed comfortable. Like, I don't have to work. And it's not like I was working like crazy, anyways. You're underage. I was just working the weekends and summers, like vacations. Um, so I did that, and then I did the fair, the county fair. That one was always really fun.
What do you do there? Like, where would you work? Like, a
Um,
stand, food,
it
tickets?
was I don't remember what it's called, but it was kind of like the kids bungee jump. So it's right next to like the adult bungee jump in the county fair, where they have like the popular like elotes. So it was like kind of around there, like the by the elotes stand. And it was like a kids, so it's a trampoline, and then you it has like, I don't know if this makes sense. So it has like two bungee cords. I don't know what to call it,
Yeah, and they would like attach them, no? And then
and
like,
then the kid is in the middle, and you have to like swing them or like whatever.
you would swing them?
Well, yeah, because I would have to
Oh,
like.
hell no.
There were so many times because my primo got me the job. It was um this person that I went to high school with, and he's friends with my cousin, and then my cousin and I, us three would work there. And my cousin was the one that got me the job, so it was fine because it was like, I would see like my cousin, my friends, um, and I remember there was like some instances where, mind you, in high school I was tiny, like really tiny. I was probably like no more than 90 pounds. So I was tiny, and some of the kids were like bigger than me, and I'm short. So like some of them, I remember que I would try to bounce them y me iba yo con ellos. But it was a really fun job because I would get to go to the fair for free, and I love the fair. Like I grew up going to the fair. Back then they used to do fireworks, and by my
Oh
at
my
my
god.
parents. We should do that. That would be fun. Go eat their food and yeah. That would actually be really cool.
I've been mute this whole time. But I'm saying we'll go to the fair and review stuff and just talk because I have mics that you can attach to the phone now. Well, I bought some. We'll see when they get here. Hopefully, we can figure those out because
Yeah,
we're technically challenged sometimes. But that would be fun.
that would be fun. Cause yeah, I grew up on the fair, and I love the fair.
We'll
Like
see if Yvette still has it and like she's like, "Hey,
no,
I used to work here a couple years ago. Let me take a shot at it."
I mean, it was like I said, that was like a really fun job because it was only 2 weeks. But we would work a lot. But I got to go to the fair for free. So that was fun. And back, like, I mean, I think it's still kind of like that. Like, it was a lot of high schoolers, like for a summer job. So we would kind of coordinate, like, oh, what time are you taking your break? And then we kind of walk around, like, with other people from high school and just, like, grab lunch together or whatever. Um, but yeah, I love the fair. So that job was really fun. Um, what else? After that one, oh, I worked for a little bit at Hollister. Um, but that one, like, you couldn't. Hollister's so different now compared to when I worked at Hollister. No duré tanto at Hollister. I was there probably for like 6 or 8 months. Um, but you couldn't do your nails, like they needed to be natural. You couldn't wear makeup, like at all. Maybe mascara, like very little. You couldn't wear anything black. Um, like your clothing. But now it's like totally different. Like
Wow, no, it's like you guys had to very much fit that aesthetic of like summer, clean, probably
beachy.
preppy.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. So then after that one, I worked at Aldo at the mall, and I was there for a really long time. I was there, I think, 4 years. 4 years, I think. Yeah, most of my undergrad um, years.
This whole time that you were at all these jobs, I was still at Nike. So I started when I was a senior, and literally until I started grad school, I was
Oh yeah,
working
because
at
you were
Nike. It's
yeah, you were
crazy.
at
Yeah,
Nike.
but I would be like, I'm free because I took a break
Mhm.
from school, and I was like, I can literally work all day, and they would give me like 4 hours, 12 hours a week. I was like, this is crazy. I
Yeah.
need to leave, and I was also like kind of over it. But I was there for a long time. I was like 23, 23. Is that how old we were when we started grad school? 24, 23, because I was finished at 25.
Yeah, it was
23. I
20.
was from 17 to 23 working there, and I met so many people, and I'm still friends with them.
That's
So
good.
I feel like if I hadn't worked there, because like, what the hell was I doing at Nike? Like I remember the first meeting, they were like, "Why did you guys pick Nike?" I'm like, "What the hell do you want us to say?" Like, I'm so passionate about this brand, and I just breathe. Well, they do say. Actually, maybe I can't say what they say in the meetings. I don't know. You know how like stores
Yeah.
are weird about that. But anyways, I said I just needed a job. I literally said that in front of a whole store. They made you get up. Hey, new hires, can you guys stand up? And why did you choose to work at Nike? And I was like, oh my god, because I needed a job. I literally
Because I
said I just
needed
needed I
money.
just needed a job. It was so embarrassing, but then it was fun, right? Like I remember one time they split us out in teams, and they made us do like a talent show. So we all had to like do something. I'll show you the
Really?
video later. OMG, it's
So wait, who did you guys perform in front of?
just each other.
Oh, okay,
Like it was
okay.
like a store meeting, and every
That's
like everybody
fun.
got like separated into stuff. And I remember like my friend and I, our outfits had to be yellow, so we just went to the out on the store and got like these yellow like a golf polo or something, and like the long ass basketball shorts. Because like, who the hell's I'm not gonna own anything yellow like that.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was fun. So it was not necessarily like I love Nike. I think Nike actually has cuter stuff now than when I like worked there. But I met a lot of good people, and I still talk to a lot of those people. And so things are meant to be, even though you
Yeah.
don't even think about it like that.
Yeah.
But
And I feel like when you're a young adult, like those jobs like ¿cómo se llama? Like customer service jobs like are so important because they help build your social skills.
yes, customer service, you learn a lot and
Yeah.
you see a lot. I like being in the back. You like would like hang clothes, and you would put sensors on them, and I guess estaban las señoras, and I remember
Uh-huh.
we would talk about like novelas. And there was a novela where this guy eran hermanos and they were panaderos. I
Oh
don't even
my
know what the hell that thing
god.
is called.
Amor Real.
I think so.
That was my favorite novela. It was tres hermanos y tres hermanas, right?
Okay. And then in the beginning of the novela, uno estaba como amasando, but
Uh-huh.
he didn't have a shirt on.
Yeah, I
And
remember
and
that
I remember,
novela.
and I remember I would tell la señora, oh, sí, ya se quería ir a ver el panadero. Well, I don't know, this other stuff. So it was funny because they were older, but like we were like play around and stuff. So being in the back was fun. I would almost always be in. Oh no, I was registered a lot too. Um, Apparel, like when you were in women's, you had to take care of the fitting rooms too, and like I think that was the hardest one because you had to do go back, so you had to hang up all of the stuff that came from
Mhm.
the fitting rooms, and then you had to put away your stuff, and then it's women's and kids, and that's both. And
Yeah.
then men's is pretty big, but like I think it's a lot of more little things with women, like bras. And then I remember when you would have to close, you'd have to make sure everything had like the size beads, and all of the tags were like hanging in a certain way.
Mhm.
So yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
That's fun having those jobs like cuz you create a lot of friendships from those jobs. I know I've created a lot of friendships like, in those type of jobs too, and it really also teaches you like the car wash salió weird that word. Car wash. Like that one really taught me how much like hard work goes into like just getting a car wash. Like my perception of people that work at car washes like completely changed after I started working there cuz I would see like how much they would like hustle. And like being in the sun and like it was tough. Like, you know, like yeah, that one really taught me a lot. Um I was the only cashier, the only girl with all male. Um but it was fun. That was a fun job. Oh, and I was a hostess at have you Casa de Soria? It's like a local Ventura. I worked there also. I think for like 2 or 3 years. Um
Dang, girl, I feel like you lived so much life in those years. I'm like, I only had one.
And then after, no, maybe not 3 years. I think it was like maybe 2 years. And then after that one, where did I go? I think I was still at Aldo. I think I was doing both. And then once I quit Aldo, I went to Chase Bank. That was fun. And then after Chase, I realized like, oh shoot, I have like no experience of like being in the field. I had already graduated with my bachelor's, so I was like, I need to find something related to my field. But even then, like, I feel like with because my major undergrad was psychology. Yours was too, right? Like, I feel like it was really hard to find.
There was absolutely nowhere where you left Nike to go to like a part-time job. I don't know what I was thinking. I had never worked, I mean, a full-time job, and I was going to go to grad school. I don't know what I was thinking. Yes, I was at a call center, and I would go to work at 5 in the morning, and then I would leave at 1:30, and then I would like drive to school. Dang, that job. That's not for me because I always go. I'm not a people person, but then I work a job like that, and I'm like, oh my god. But I'm not like a computer person because it's so like isolating when you couldn't talk to people because you would be answering calls and you were timed and like you had to like they could tell the calls that you passed, so you would hang up and you would already have to have everything typed up and done so that you could submit it and you could take the next call.
First exposure into the field. Um, it was dealing a lot of the population that I was working with was with personality disorders. So, because there was like four different houses. So la house que me tocó a mí, it was like they actually lived there. Like, because the other three, it was temporary. Like, I think they were placed for like a year or something, and then it was like a transitional. So, like for a year, and then they would have to find placement elsewhere, or hopefully they were recovered and go back to their families. Um, but the house que me tocó, initially, it was like they lived there. So they weren't going anywhere. Like they lived there. And a lot of them were actually from, because they was older adults. They were actually patients from the Camarillo, ¿cuál era? The
The
Camarillo
hospital
mental
that was
state.
at Channel Islands, right?
Yes.
They were
So a
still
lot of,
alive. I guess it
yes.
wasn't that long ago, huh?
No. The way that they like pretty much like closed it down and like, okay, sorry, funding's no more. Like, yeah, like the stories. It's a lot of like adults with schizophrenia, bipolar, um, antisocial. Like,
I feel like it's really hard to treat that outside of like a facility. No, like you as a clinician, how would you feel working with somebody with like a personality disorder?
I wasn't a clinician. I just had my bachelor's.
But I'm saying like now, if you were like, oh, somebody has, and this is obviously like a greater thing, but like if you have a schizophrenic client that you see every week, that's kind of scary because like what if they do something and then the whole liability stuff? Like, don't you think that that should almost be like a facility?
Are you thinking because of the movie Split?
I've never seen that movie,
Oh,
but
oh,
I think my mind just like right away goes to liability stuff because
yeah,
like if they do something
yeah.
under our care, it
What
comes on us.
do you remember that story? We were in grad school. I think we were in our last year, and I believe this happened in Fullerton. It was somewhere in like LA area. I believe it was Fullerton or Dominguez Hills, one of those. Uh, I will never forget that story because like me dejó marcada, where a therapist was killed by her client. Do you remember that story?
It happened when we were in grad school.
Yes.
I don't remember.
Um, I don't remember the exact details, but I just remember that the client killed his therapist. Uh, either in Fullerton, Dominguez Hills, somewhere over there. Like, um, but that was, yeah, that was really scary. And I mean, I think that's why I say I think for me working at that dual facility, it was the hardest job that I have ever done because every day was unpredictable. And we were a hands-off facility,
I'm googling it.
so we couldn't like you couldn't do restraints, you couldn't do anything. Thank goodness nothing ever happened to me, but coworkers unfortunately would get hit or would get. I think the worst thing that ended up happening to me was like I had a client que me aventaba like hacía bolas de papel y me las aventaba. Um,
I thought you were gonna say poop or something. I was like, no.
no. um, and they keyed my car. Do you remember that?
I do remember that.
I was so devastated.
I remember. Was it something? Did they do words?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
like a
remember.
really
I
bad,
remember.
mean word, and I loved that car.
I
I had
remember. I
just gotten
remember.
it.
Did
uh,
you stay much after that? Like,
no,
okay,
because
yeah.
then it got very like I just didn't feel safe with that particular client. Like after like the keying of my car, and then just I empezó a aventarme like papeles and like las miradas was just like very intense. And I was honestly scared. Like I was like, no, this is not worth my mental health. This is not worth my
That's really
safety.
scary.
And thankfully my supervisor then took me under her wing, and like that's when I then transitioned out of that residential facility job, and I went and I worked a lot with the Mixteco population in Oxnard. I was there for a year. I did a lot of parenting groups. I did a lot of like I would focus on helping the Mixteco community like um, play or like build healthy attachment like with their kids. That one was a really fun job. A lot of activities like groups helping parents like literally just connect with like their little ones, and um, I got a lot of exposure, a lot of experience, and I learned a lot because the Mixteco program or community is very involved, and like yeah, I just learned a lot in that being
Mm,
in that role.
that's really cool. I remember I interviewed to work there. Was it with you? Were you already working there? It is so sweet there. It was like it's at a house. I think they moved now, but it was at a house. Like that's
Mhm.
where in Ventura. And it was with foster kids, foster families, and there was a lot of little kids. Um, there was a family. It was three siblings, and I remember I would get there and they're like, "Be Melissa." So that was really nice.
Aw.
It was just a lot of like bonding with these kids and teaching again, like parents, like foster
Yeah.
parents, family members. But a lot of times it was people that weren't even really related to these kids. And then I started teaching foster parent classes. Where I think now they're called resource parents, whatever it is now, or it was back then. So I would go. It was in Camarillo. It was pretty hidden, and I would just do lessons, and people. It was 8 classes, and they needed to take them to be certified to actually be foster parents. And I remember thinking, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, right? But it was fun because there was a lot of things that is common sense to you, but other people it's not. Like other people don't understand like attachment or trauma or all of that stuff, and like you could see people learning because often it's cycles, right? Like it's like a lot of grandparents that are taking on their grandkids because their kids couldn't handle it or whatever situation they were in. And I think it also helped grandparents realize like, oh crap, like I also have that trauma, or
Mhm.
I get it now, and they made connections. So that was really fun. That was really cool. Giving people their certificates, like congratulations. And sometimes they would miss. There was several classes. There was like several things going at the same time. So somebody from another cycle would come in because they missed class 2, and I was doing class 2. And I remember there was a couple. I think they had like a farm and stuff, and they brought me a little bundt cake
Oh.
at the last day, and it was really sweet. And I remember I would always wear my hair like this, and then one day I wore it down, and they saw me and they're like, "Oh my god!" They're like, "Whoa, we were not expecting the hair." I remember that because I would always wear my hair back, and my hair was pretty long, and it was blonde. And so they were like, "We were not expecting the hair," because they didn't even know who it was because I was in the closet. So little memories like that that you
Yeah.
remember of your jobs and then the experience at that job. Also got a lot of experience. It was really scary in the beginning because I was working at a school-based program. So IEP services, I didn't know what the hell an IEP was. I remember my first IEP meeting. I just showed up. I didn't say anything because I didn't know what was going on.
Yeah.
I was just like, I'm just here to see them for counseling. And so you learn, right? And eventually you kind of learn to be your client's advocate, and you also learn to talk to the parents, but you also have to learn how to have like a good relationship with the school. So after 4 years, I think it was good.
What would you say was some of like the challenges you experienced like throughout your professional career? What were some of the challenges that you had?
I think at the schools, I think people really try to push you to do a lot of the things that are not within your job, right? So like there would be referrals that psychologists would have to fill out and they would send them to you. Hey, can you help me with this? Girl, you've been doing this job for 10 years. You know how to do this. Um a lot of the times like they didn't give you space to meet.
I think that was, yeah, that was also one of my challenges too. Like they expected you to meet with their students, but they didn't provide, or maybe they would try, but they did. Some schools didn't have a designated space, which is really unfortunate because if you are referring students for counseling, you also have to think about a confidential space. I remember que nos ponían a veces, I don't know si a ti te tocó eso, pero like sometimes they would put me in like the janitor's closet. And to me, I was like, okay, I get it. Like, at least we have a space. But like, if I'm meeting with like 5 students from this campus and I know I'm not the only therapist that sees clients here, like, why don't you have a designated space?
I think it's definitely different. I will also say, I think within the like when I first started to when I was like leaving, a lot of the schools were in the process of getting a wellness center.
Oh, good.
So a lot of schools have a wellness center. How does it run? Do they run smoothly? I don't know. I don't know if they actually have LMFTs there. I don't know if they have sufficient, but the intent is there. Um, I think in the beginning when you're new to a school, they're not going to prioritize you, right? They're not going to be like, oh yeah, this girl needs a room. Some schools were really nice, right? But it was also building a relationship with them.
Yeah.
Like by the time I was at Oxnard High School, I knew everybody, and everybody was like, oh hey, what's up? And like I knew the office people, I knew the administrators, and so that's why it sucked. I was like so sad that I wouldn't be going back there because
You had those
yes.
relationships
So while I
already.
hated like the politics of it, I enjoyed the work. And I think that's always the thing, like the paperwork, the politics, the money,
Hmm.
that's hard. That's what complicates everything. But
Yeah.
the job is talking to people. And that's how I know like I do like what I do, but it's just the money and the admin and the paperwork and all of that complicates everything. So I would say, yeah, just like turning that relationship that people try to scare you to do things
Hmm.
to respect, right? So like don't think that this is happening because I'm scared of you, right? It's going to happen because we're going to mutually respect each other. And I think within the process of being there for so many years, I was able to build like that respect. Like I respect you, but you also respect me. Like, hey, what's up with this? Like, let's be on the same page of this. Like, we're not against each other. And I think sometimes it feels like outsiders coming into the school, it's like you're against each other. Like I'm trying to prove the school wrong or whatever it may be. But it just comes with time, and I think sometimes time is not what we don't have a lot of time
Yeah.
for turnaround or like this kid needs to do X, Y, and Z. Um, so yeah, it's just like teachers trying to throw me under the bus.
Really?
Yeah, in Ventura, I remember she said, "Hey, like, oh, they were calling me," and I was like, "I'm busy, so I can't answer." They were in an IEP meeting that I never got an invite to, that I was never even notified that there was. And then they called me and they're like, "Hey, we're actually at an IEP meeting." They left a message. Why aren't you here? And then the parents were like, "Oh, we need to see records of when you guys are meeting, blah blah blah." And I said, "You guys never invited me to this IEP meeting, so that's on you. You guys never told me." Um, and then they call the office that they can't get a hold of me, that they've been trying to reach me for weeks, and that I haven't gotten back to them. And I'm like, look at my emails, look at my phone calls. I don't even know who you are. It wasn't even the teacher that called me for that IUP meeting. It was somebody else that I had
Hmm.
never heard of. I didn't have permission to talk to that person about this student. Um, and they called the office, and I said, you know what? This teacher has just been so disrespectful towards me because they were STAR testing. I told her, when do you want me to go? Actually, let's come after STAR testing. Okay, cool. You let me know. Never emailed me. I emailed her back, hey, when would be a good time? Oh, you can come at this time, or like this time we can't. You told me to not go during those 2 weeks.
Hmm.
After testing was over, his behavior has gotten so much worse, and I think it's because you didn't come see him during those 2 weeks. Where were you? I said, I asked you, and you said no. And then the boss, I was like, I'm going to talk to them. And I was like, I hope you do. And then she's like, I actually want to talk to you about some things that concerned her. I was like, her? What about me? And it just didn't really feel like these people were defending their clinicians. And so that was also hard. But that was at the county. And so, like I said, there's a lot of politics, there's a lot of different things going to play. Um and then at VCOE, I think I just had to learn a whole different approach because it was more behavior. It was more going into the classroom and
Like managing behaviors or
and I was like, I'm not a behaviorist. And it was more so helping the team, more so helping the teachers. Like, this is not going to work because this is what the intention is of this student.
Mhm.
And if you're not consistent, they know that, blah, blah, blah. Like that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And a lot of teachers also didn't like that because I'm like, you're not going to blame this on the kid. This is on you
Yeah.
because you're the adult and you have to have the consistency and you have to have the model and maybe I can help you come up with the model, girly. This teacher was like, it's fine. I'll let you know if I need help. She didn't like it. And I get it. Being a teacher is really hard. It's a lot of
And I also
responsibility.
think, I mean, like you said earlier, it has to be a collaborative effort because, I mean, I'm not a teacher, but I know teachers and también they're burnt out. Like they have well over 25 students in their classroom. Like it, they can't just focus on one student. So I do think it's important for everybody to be on the same team. And I mean, that's unfortunate that was your experience. Mine was the complete opposite.
Yeah, well, and every teacher's different, right? Every teacher is like super. And I think teaching is a lot harder right now because they do have a lot more responsibility because now mental health comes into play and schools want to take that into accountability too and they want to help with that. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of stuff for the teachers to do. But I also think that we need to teach the teachers. And a lot of the times they don't teach the teachers, they just throw them in there and tell them, here, solve this or whatever it may be. And it is hard for them. And I also think a lot of older teachers have a harder time adjusting to like this new era of student, like this new era of teaching. Because I remember one teacher would be like, my kids are traumatized. I'm traumatized. I don't, and I'm like, then you are an adult and maybe go to a therapist to see how you can process that and how we can better approach this. You were an adult, they're not. Um, and it was just, yeah, it was, and I understand like some kids really are out of hand and I get that. So it's hard.
Yeah, it really is. How did you get into now private practice?
I wanted to do it for a while. I was thinking about it. And so in a way I kind of felt like pushed. And I was also like,
Well, your contract ended, no?
they were doing their own thing. They're like, we're just gonna hire directly. And so the district wanted to keep me, but the company was gonna keep the older people. So I mean, and that makes sense. That was fair. I was like, at least it felt really fair in the way that they let us go. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess like this is the universe telling me like take this leap. And so here we are.
That's good.
Here we are. But yeah, it helped me. I think it builds your confidence to work at other jobs like that too. So
For sure. And even if they may be challenging, I feel like it helps either build your own boundaries and learn how to be your own advocate. Um,
that's the one thing I learned for sure is boundaries. And I don't mean I had a lot of awesome teacher experiences too. But you know how they say like the negative stick with you more. And that's where I'm talking from. Like, the negative experiences, the challenges. But yes, teachers are amazing. Like props to them because I know couldn't be a teacher.
mhm.
So disclaimer. I know teachers. Thank you. What about you? Because you've been in private practice for a while already.
4 years? 4 years. Yeah,
Wow.
4 years.
Wow.
Um, so what about me? Like,
How did you get into private practice? How did you decide like I'm ready? Because yours was harder because you started 4 years ago. What was 4 years ago? 2020. What was in 2020? Freaking COVID.
it was literally the start of COVID. Um, I knew I wanted private practice since we were in grad school, with Doctor Buckley. Remember when we went to his house and he showed us his house and like he's goals. Like I was like, I want that. I want that life. Like I want to be able to do that.
But you know what was so funny? Because in grad school they scare you. They're like, don't give too much away or your clients are going to read into you, and these people with personality disorder, they're going to read into you, and if you give them too much, girl, his office was his house.
Yeah. But I feel like he motivated me, but I knew that my route would look a little different because I didn't want to just have, like, how do I say this? Like, I wanted different experiences in different fields and different populations to really say like, okay, this is who I want to work with. Uh, like I said previously, I had already been working at a residential facility um, with personality disorders, and I did it for like, I think it was like 2.5 or maybe 3 years, and I learned like I didn't want to do that forever. Um, I enjoyed it, but that was not a forever job for me. And then from there, I went, like I said, to First Five, and I worked with the Mixteco population, and I really enjoyed that. Like, I found, I surprised myself. I've always been, I am really shy, and I don't like public speaking porque me pongo, like, even right now, like, me trabo con mis propias palabras, and like, I feel like I get really anxious and like just, I'm not a good public speaker. But then that role really challenged me, and I really appreciated that because I really enjoyed teaching. So I learned that like I enjoyed putting groups together. I enjoyed teaching. I enjoyed, even though that came with some of challenges for me too, because I feel like there was maybe a little bit of resistance with certain clients or parents where I looked a lot younger, and I was younger. I was 24, 25. Um, and I looked younger, and I felt like there was almost like that barrier because like it was always like, "Usted tiene hijos?" And like almost like, like I would have parents like literally question. I remember during supervision, like I would bring it up because I'd be like, okay, otra vez me volvieron a preguntar. And I would notice that I would try to change, like if it was a first appointment, like the intake with the parents, I remember like feeling like I had to dress myself up to look older. And I would always wear my glasses and dress myself to look older. Um, and then I brought that up into supervision and with my own therapist because I was doing therapy too. And I remember both told me like, why do you feel like you have to cover who you are? Like, you don't have to change that. And I remember my supervisor had said like, maybe throw the question back at them. Like, does that change anything for you if you do learn that I am younger? Like, does that change anything? And most often the answer was no, it doesn't. And I learned that sometimes it was just curiosity. Others, maybe it did mean something, like, and I would have to transfer out, but it had nothing to do necessarily with me. It had something to do with them. Um, and sometimes, even with consultations, like I will always screen and have a consultation first, like free 15 minutes, like screen to make sure that we're a good match. Because if we're not a good match, then, I could refer elsewhere. And every client has every right, if they thought that I was not a good fit for them, like don't take it personal. And like I learned a lot, and I'm very thankful, as difficult as some seasons may have been. I feel like it really helped shape the therapist that I am and the clinician that I am, um, because now I follow those expectations now into my own practice.
It's true. I definitely think that if you start off, I mean, everybody, when they're new, it's new and it's kind of like you get thrown in and you have to act like you know what you're talking about because
Yeah.
you do, but you just haven't practiced it. And so it's kind of putting that into practice. And yeah, I agree. I think all of the experience, I always tell my friend, if we hadn't have worked here, we wouldn't have known how to do this. If we hadn't have worked here, we wouldn't have known how to handle the situation.
Hmm.
If we hadn't have worked here, we wouldn't have felt comfortable asking these questions about what
Yeah.
about my job and my position. So yeah, it's reassuring that you feel like you're in the right field. Or like when your clients go, "Oh my God, I really need to talk to you." or I was like, oh, I need to have a session this week, or like, oh my god, I didn't see you for 2 weeks, and like, oh my god, all the stuff I have to tell you.
I love when a session starts with like, "Girl,
Tell
let
me.
me tell you, like, what happened?" I'm like,
Or like
so
when people are like,
invested.
TMI on my girl, this is the spot.
Yeah.
TMI doesn't exist. Tell me.
Start somewhere. Literally, if it's transitioning from one career to the other, like, be gentle with yourself, be patient with yourself because everything is a process. And honestly, every job I feel helps mold who you are. And like it helps refine any skill. Like, being able to, I don't know, work at Aldo, like that helped me like have conversations and get to know people. Like, what shoe are you looking for? What's the occasion? Like, what color? Like, loved Aldo for that because I felt like I was able, kind of like a therapist, like you're gathering information to what the event is and to be able to help find like a solution of like what type of shoe are they looking for. And I mean, I like fashion, and I always thought that was really cool to be able to a ver, let me see the picture. Okay,
Let's just say it's never too late to start anything. Time's gonna pass by either way because I think a lot of people are like, it's gonna take me forever. Some people wanting to go to nursing. I think nursing is like a job that a lot of people like go into later on. It's a very popular, at least from what
honestly,
I've
I've
heard.
thought about it like when COVID started. I was like, yeah, I was like, do I want to switch careers? Like, I mean, I just love learning. But even con miedo, con ansiedad, but do it.
You know what? Sin miedo al éxito.
You see?
And that's
Like,
scary sometimes.
it is,
Yeah.
but I also think I like to remind myself that if I wasn't scared, if I wasn't anxious about something, that meant that I didn't want it that bad. And the fact that I'm anxious, the fact that I'm nervous about starting something, that means that it's important. I hope that this kind of inspires you, that if you've been thinking about um, trying something new, it's never too late.
It was not that deep. I was just,
Do it.
oh, Nike. No pun intended. All right. We'll leave you guys with that. Bye.
Even con miedo, con ansiedad, but do it. You see? Like, it is. But I also think I like to remind myself that if I wasn't scared, if I wasn't anxious about something, that meant that I didn't want it that bad. And the fact that I'm anxious, the fact that I'm nervous about starting something, that means that it's important for me.